Daniella Decker, and I serve as the Global Accessibility and Disability Inclusion Lead at the International Finance Corporation, or IFC, at the World Bank. And the IFC is the largest global development institution focused exclusively on private sector partnership in developing countries. And in my role, I'm responsible for ensuring that IFC's initiatives, practices, and investments are intentionally inclusive of persons with disabilities. But before we dive into the importance of disability inclusion, innovation, and accessibility, I'd like to share my own personal story with disability. Like many of you working in the space, my career has been and continues to be influenced by personal experience. When I was around 12 years old, my family welcomed my Aunt Nina, who was diagnosed with schizophrenia as a teen, into our home. She lived with us until she passed just several years ago. But growing up alongside Nina, I witnessed the aspects of disability that often go unnoticed and misunderstood in today's world. And that's the profound social, financial, and economic and digital exclusion that individuals with disabilities face every day. So my mom and I would take Nina out for coffee daily, trying to provide some kind of respite and social opportunity for some kind of social reset and engagement. And one day, as we were driving home from a nice little coffee shop, Nina saw an unhoused man on the street walking and talking to himself. She said to my mom while I sat in the back seat of the car, "If it weren't for you, that's where I would be." And today, almost several decades later, those words, packed with so much truth, still resonate with me deeply. And as many of you know, anyone can enter the disability community at any point in their lives. And this past summer, that became a true reality for my mom, as she experienced 3 separate strokes and 3 separate occasions this past May, June, and July. So I spent much of my time at home in California alongside her, playing brain recovery games, educating myself on virtual reality stroke rehab, which is very cool and very real, navigating inaccessible hospital systems, and putting my years of experience working in disability advocacy to practice in the real world. So never before has this work and this network of disability inclusion advocates and leaders been more meaningful and deeply personal to me. And as such, my personal journey has really reinforced my unwavering belief that the work that we're doing at the IFC and the urgency of IFC's disability inclusion mission to ensure people with disabilities are represented, reflected, and recognized as vital voices, change agents, and leaders of our society. At IFC, we recognize that businesses, financial institutions, and private sector organizations also have a critical role to play in helping achieve that objective, especially right now, in this moment, as we navigate the path to post-COVID-19 pandemic recovery. A paradigm shift towards disability inclusion is critical. We're seeing this kind of behavior shift, especially at the World Bank and IFC, with investors and partners in particular. Together, both the World Bank and IFC have made 10 unique disability inclusive specific commitments that signal to private investors and private sector leaders that the inclusion of persons with disabilities is critical to advancing economic inclusion, ending extreme poverty, and promoting shared prosperity. But as we zoom in and we recognize that banks and financial service industry leaders are one of the many industry professionals and groups and sectors that have the opportunity to become mega catalysts for change. At IFC, we recently developed a report highlighting significant impact in the financial institutions and what their impact can do to expand the disability economy. And as highlighted in this report, there's so much yet to be done, as banking in its current and existing format today still remains largely inaccessible, but not for long. Change is coming, and several banks and institutions are pioneering that change. We can see specifically disability investments and those expansions on the horizon, especially in light of the new European Accessibility Act that's taking place and taking flight across Europe, mandating things like accessible ATMs, accessible financial services, and accessible payment terminals, specifically adapted for persons with disabilities.
So the question is, if public policy is one of the main economic and business drivers, what comes next? What can we do? And I would say that's awareness. We need to generate awareness, create, and demand awareness. Awareness of the spending power of persons with disabilities backed by real data, their family members coupled, as well as caregivers who are also contributing to the disability economy. But that awareness needs to continue to grow, expand, and populate for more industries around the banking and financial institutions to be bought in. And we can look to fintech startups, assistive technologies, and financial service providers who are actually leading the way in developing targeted products and services to uncover numerous opportunities. And for banks, what does this look like? It looks like the opportunities for potential partnership models that are emerging to fill in those gaps for accessibility. And for example, you can look to a company like Ceffable. Ceffable is stepping in to fill that void. Ceffable is an assistive technology company that allows nonverbal consumers to use things like ATMs, banking apps, and banking platforms with just a simple facial expression. But Ceffable isn't just good for big multinational banks. It's also good for local banks looking to open the door to uncover $1 billion in annual net revenue when engaging disabled customers. We can also see how this impacts the disability economy at scale, where banks can finally tailor financial services and products for persons with disabilities and their families to create greater financial inclusion, build credit, and also generate a more equitable access to loans. And in major banks around the world, we're seeing this exact kind of behavior of inclusive banking when it's spearheaded specifically by disabled corporate leaders, let's say at Scotiabank, MasterCard, Wells Fargo. We have disabled leaders in these institutions and organizations that are spearheading some of this innovation. But it's not just major corporations, it's also local banks too, especially in the global south, such as Banco Colombia, which recently developed a dedicated website just for disabled customers and users with disabilities. The website features an inclusive care guide as well as documents outlining the bank's policies and practices in a completely accessible format. Then if we also travel further south in Latin America, we can arrive to Santander, Argentina, which recently developed an app called Háblalo, which translates to talk about it in Spanish. And the app bridges the communication divide through text to speech technology. Or we can also look to the other side of the world, in India. Standard Chartered Bank India, which recently launched a special sign language service for deaf or hard of hearing clients. The bank itself developed a sign language app, which includes videos to encourage more deaf and hard of hearing customers to open savings accounts, term deposits, open credit cards, as well as loans to banks with more deaf customers that are now included as part of that ecosystem. These are just some examples from the banking sector, whether it's in India, Latin America, or other parts of the world. It does underscore this momentum towards providing financial independence, security, and protections to individuals with disabilities. And it's a pivotal moment. It's palpable. People with disabilities indeed are now holding the key to unlocking profound economic, financial, and social change. And at the IFC, we believe the inclusion of persons with disabilities in the financial sector are truly the main economic drivers in this part of the world. In major banks around the world, we can see this kind of inclusive banking being spearheaded. Sorry, our connection just got lost. Give me 1 second. Okay, we're back. My internet gave out. Apologies on the tech side here. Okay, we're back. At IFC, we can see this kind of accelerated work being spearheaded and really believe that there are actually 6 components to ensuring that this kind of work is accelerated in the banking sector. And those 6 actions or calls to action are increasing the share of persons with disabilities in the financial services workplace, creating inclusive leadership in workplaces. So again, making sure disabled leaders are at the helm. Another one is driving disability inclusion agenda in banking. So ensuring that this is a part of the overall strategy of the workplace, offering accessible products, implementing commitments to disability inclusion investment and procurement practices to ensure that there again is a nexus of disability inclusion at all facets of the company or the organization. And of course, one of the largest elements of this work is developing disability-focused partnerships and community building. But all of these commitments are going to take time because we know change takes time. But enacting these changes also won't be easy. But it's, as the old expression goes, nothing easy is ever worth doing. And I know that that personal is very personal for some of us, but it is also truly personal for me as someone who just tried to recently teach my mom how to use the app called Credit Karma. And this experience served as a really important reminder that, especially when it comes to accessible banking, this kind of work demands an abundance of patience, unwavering persistence, and an undying spirit of determination. And it's a small reminder for each of us working towards the same goal that we need to continue to push for enhanced accessibility at every single moment in order to enact tangible change. And your collective efforts, whether you're over there across the pond in the global south or here in the US or in New York City, are making a profound impact and profound change. And thank you very much for your time. Again, my name is Daniella Decker. I'm happy to reach out now that we're in a virtual setting.